Elaine New is a member of the New York State Assembly and a Democrat who says Governor Cuomo's resignation isn't enough, and she's joining us live tonight. You released a scathing statement that the resignation is long overdue and it's a first step, but it is not enough, and that the impeachment process needs to continue. Play this forward for us. What happens next?
So I believe that, we need to make sure that the Judiciary Committee still brings forward its investigation and the results of its investigation, and that the legislature should still be given a, ability to vote on articles of impeachment.
Were you surprised that the governor stepped down today?
I was, and I also wasn't. I think that there's parts of me that, thought that he would keep going, of course, till the end. But then there's also a part of me that knows that he's somebody who likes control. He likes to be able to make sure that he has, things on his timeline and his call and his messaging. And so I think that this is a part of his plan, as you saw with the statements that he made. It was continuing to gaslight these women who came forward and were brave about, what they had gone through. And it was to continue to gaslight New Yorkers and saying that, this is all, for them. We all know that Andrew Cuomo doesn't care about New Yorkers. He only cares about Andrew Cuomo.
As Tom just pointed out, these accusations, though, have been out there for months. So what do you think was the turning point today that he resigned?
I think that it was maybe because of the impeachment inquiries, maybe, but I think that, we still need transparency. We still need sunlight in this process. And we still owe it to the victims of the governor's predatory behavior to offer a full accounting of what happened. And I think that, this is part of his trying to not take accountability and responsibility. Resigning doesn't mean that you get to avoid accountability, though, for what you did, especially as a public servant.
Elaine, you are a survivor of sexual assault, and in 2019, you shared publicly your personal story of abuse as a teenager by a teacher. What is your message to other victims of sexual assault who are afraid right now to come forward, given the atmosphere across the country that we see happening?
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying is so true, that there's atmosphere and folks are afraid, and, folks are being told that it's cancel culture or it's whatever. And I think that it's people are always criticizing and afraid of being criticized for maybe not, quote unquote, behaving like the perfect victim. And so people think that they can judge on how people behave just because, they might have gone home or ate crackers. That's what the governor's lawyer criticized somebody on, one of the survivors of sexual assault by the governor, because she ate crackers and she made jokes with her colleagues. She should not be believed. I think that it's really disgusting and vile that people have these kinds of judgments of how survivors survive. I think that, we have these things that our brains do, right? It tells us to go and do something that is normal for us. Go to class, go back to lunch. That's what I did after what had happened to me. And I think that a lot of times, people are judged for what they do right after something has happened to them, a violation has happened to them. And I think that it's disgusting, and that's something that people need to really, check themselves on, because it's how we survive. And I think that if you survived, you're a hero, and you're somebody who has gone through something that nobody should ever have to go through. And so I think it's really important that we are changing our policies, changing our laws, so that, what has been allowed to happen with what happened with the governor, these abuses of power, should never be allowed to happen again. And I think that starts with our legislature.
Well, I know you're working very hard to give people a voice and to change the laws. Yuleen, finally, the governor's replacement will be the first female governor of the state of New York. And as he said today, the business of governing must continue. What do you know about Kathy Hochul and what she will bring to the people of New York?
Well, I mean, I'm really glad that, I do have the pleasure of actually knowing her. She came down to our district several times, toured a couple of different places with me. That's something that the governor's never done. So I think that, I'm excited that she's somebody who will listen to us and have conversations with us. I will say this, that, things in Albany, people always tell us this is how things have always been. It's something that is told to us all the time. And this will never change. This is Albany. These are the things that will happen. All of the little things that as a former staffer, as somebody who was in Albany was told constantly. And I hope that things do change. Everybody asks me, like, do you hope for a seamless transition? It's like, no, I actually hope that everything changes, that the seams are ripped out, and that we are having a very different Albany. The reason why our legislative environment and culture has changed so much in the last couple of years is because we've elected more women, because we've had more people of color in office, and we have a more diverse body. And I think that that's really important to have. And it's something that I hope will also change the culture within the executive office. But, I think that the toxicity and the abuse and the toxic culture of Albany and the misogyny that goes with it isn't just going to go away overnight, right? It's still there, and powerful people still use it to, continue to hurt others. But I think that it's something that we can change with good policies, just like the ones that we passed in 2019 about sexual harassment in the workplace, but yet we carved ourselves out of it. And I think that this is something that we can start with.
We'll continue to follow it. Yuleen New, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.